Let's begin not with a stage, but with a screech of tires and the flash of a camera. Late on the night of November 2nd, 2019, in Hannam-dong, Seoul, a black Mercedes sedan collided with a taxi. The driver of the Mercedes was Jeon Jungkook. This wasn't just a traffic accident. It became the first major, undeniable crack in the pristine golden Maknae facade, a public relations earthquake that would force the world and his fans to reconcile the untouchable idol with a very real and very human young man who could make a mistake. According to the police report, Jungkook was at fault, failing to yield properly. He was tested for alcohol, a negative result that was itself a huge sigh of relief for the agency, and settled the matter with the other driver privately. But in the court of public opinion, the gavel came down hard and fast. This was BTS at the peak of their global power, and their youngest was now in a police blotter. The official statement from Big Hit was swift, emphasizing his cooperation and the negative sobriety test, but the internet had already fractured. Supporters flooded social media with "Stay Strong Jungkook," framing it as an unfortunate but minor accident where no one was seriously hurt. But the detractors and sensationalist media pounced, painting it as reckless behavior of a spoiled celebrity. Rumors began to swirl, unsubstantiated but toxic, about his character. The controversy was less about the fender bender itself and more about what it represented: the immense, often impossible pressure on these young men to be flawless ambassadors at all times. For Jungkook, it was a brutal introduction to a new level of scrutiny, where every action, even a private drive, was a potential public crisis. But if 2019 was about a single stark mistake, the controversy of 2021 was about a perceived betrayal of a collective sacrifice. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, as the entire world was locked down and BTS's message of solidarity in songs like "Life Goes On" was a comfort to millions, news broke that Jungkook, along with bandmates Jimin and V, had visited a bar in Itaewon to celebrate the birthday of friends, including fellow idol Choi Woo-shik. The problem wasn't the socializing, it was the timing. This occurred just after a loosening of strict social distancing rules and before a new wave of infections was reported linked to the area. The public backlash was immediate and ferocious. Here were the world's biggest pop stars, who had just held a virtual concert connecting isolated fans globally, seemingly disregarding the very rules their home country was struggling to enforce. Netizens and media outlets speculated wildly, questioning their responsibility. Itaewon Gate, as fans grimly dubbed it, led to a formal apology from all members involved, posted on the fan platform Weavers. They expressed regret for causing concern and acknowledged their lack of social awareness. The industry insight here is critical. In South Korea, where social cohesion and collective responsibility are deeply valued, this wasn't just a celebrity slip-up. It was seen as a failure of moral leadership. All three artists went into self-quarantine, and their activities were halted. The impact was a palpable shift. The incident stripped away another layer of the idol illusion, revealing young men craving normalcy but trapped in a fishbowl, where any attempt at private life could explode into a national headline and a career liability. Now, fast forward to 2023, the year of his official solo debut. The music was triumphant, but the undercurrent of controversy took a darker, more invasive turn. This time, it wasn't about a public misstep, but about the weaponization of his private life. For years, Jungkook had been linked, through fan theories and baseless gossip, to various celebrities. But a new wave of speculation targeted a specific non-celebrity individual, a tattoo artist. Online communities, particularly on platforms like Twitter and in the darker corners of forums, began constructing an elaborate narrative based on perceived clues, overlapping social circles, vague location tags, and in the so-called evidence that fueled the most intense speculation: the very ink on his own skin, his personal tattoos. Fans couldn't believe the audacity. The speculation wasn't just idle gossip. It escalated into a full-blown campaign of harassment directed at the alleged woman, with her social media flooded by obsessive fans and malicious commentators. This controversy was perhaps the most sinister, highlighting the toxic underbelly of fan culture. It showed how the parasocial relationship, the one-sided intimacy fans feel with an idol, could curdle into a sense of ownership so potent that any hint of a real private romantic life was seen as a personal affront. The industry, built on selling this fantasy of availability, had no easy solution. Big Hit remained silent on the rumors, as agencies typically do, but the damage was done. For Jungkook, it was a brutal reminder that even his skin, the canvas for his personal expressions of art and memory through tattoos, could be used by strangers as a map to invent narratives about his heart. And speaking of his tattoos, they became their own standalone controversy, separate from the dating rumors. As he revealed more of his extensive ink, a segment of more conservative Korean media and netizens launched a critique. The discourse wasn't about artistry, it was about conformity. Rumors began to swirl, fueled by blurry photos and malicious posts, that some of his tattoos had gang affiliations or occult meanings. These claims were repeatedly debunked by knowledgeable fans and tattoo experts, but the stigma in a society where visible tattoos can still bar entry to some public spaces like saunas or be associated with rebellion stuck. Every performance on a major show like The Tonight Show or MTV VMAs, where his sleeves were rolled up, sparked a mini debate in Korean online communities. This controversy was a clash of cultures, the global pop star embracing a common form of self-expression worldwide versus the domestic expectations of the idol image, which traditionally skewed toward a cleaner, more boy-next-door aesthetic. Jungkook's response was silent but definitive. He stopped covering them up. He showcased them proudly in his 7 and 3D music videos, in photo shoots, and on stage. His analysis through action was clear. This is my body, my story. The controversy gradually faded, not because he conceded, but because he normalized it through unwavering confidence, challenging the industry's old standards by simply living outside of them. The final and most complex layer of controversy surrounds his art itself. His solo debut album, Golden, when 7 featuring Latto dropped with its upbeat but lyrically suggestive theme and music video co-starring Han So-hee, a segment of the Fizon was genuinely shocked. This wasn't the Jungkook of Begin or My Time, songs about growth and loneliness. This was a confident adult man singing about a different kind of passion. The reaction was polarized. Many celebrated his maturation and artistic freedom, but critics, including some longtime fans, called it generic, a safe bid for Western pop charts. They accused him of abandoning a deeper artistic identity for commercial appeal. Then came 3D and the lyric about your boyfriend. Social media lit up with debates about whether it promoted infidelity, with think pieces dissecting the morality of the song's narrator. This artistic controversy cuts to the very core of the idol paradox. The industry had spent a decade marketing Jungkook as the golden-hearted, talented youngest brother of the global family. Now he was actively participating in reshaping that image, exploring themes of desire and complexity. The backlash wasn't just about music taste, it was the sound of cognitive dissonance. It revealed how an idol's personal growth can outpace the audience's ability to accept it. The golden Maknae was a role, and Jungkook, the 26-year-old man, was stepping out of it, causing friction in the process. His performance in Times Square, surrounded by a massive, diverse crowd, was his answer, a declaration of his global pop star ambitions untethered from any single expectation. So what is the cumulative toll of living through this relentless cycle of accident, scrutiny, invasion, and critique? The impact is written in the subtle changes. Watch his older variety show appearances, the eager-to-please brightness. Now observe his recent solo interviews and lives. The warmth is still there, but it's guarded, more measured. He shares less of the mundane. He thinks before he speaks. The controversies have built a higher wall, a necessary barrier for survival. They have shaped a public opinion that is no longer monolithic. It's a spectrum ranging from protective devotion to skeptical criticism. His career, however, has not been derailed. It has been radically redefined. He is no longer just BTS's Jungkook. He is Jungkook, the solo artist who navigated a minefield of scandals and emerged with a clear, if harder-won, identity. The industry itself has been forced to adapt alongside him, issuing stronger legal warnings against defamation and privacy invasion, though often playing catch-up to the internet's fury. In the end, the story of Jungkook's controversies is the story of a boy who was given a golden label and spent his young adulthood proving he was human beneath it, complex, imperfect, resilient, and relentlessly evolving. The question that remains isn't about what scandal will come next, but about how much of the person Jeon Jungkook we will ever truly be allowed to see, and whether we, the audience, can finally learn to look without demanding to own what we find.